welcome to episode number 80 of the Knitting Teaspoon podcast. I'm Liesbeth, your host, and this is a podcast which is all about knitting, sewing, spinning, crochet, basically all of the fiber crafts that I feel like I've mentioned a few that I have not been doing, and I haven't mentioned all of the crafts that I have been doing. So there you go. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. It is lovely to have you here, and let's get right into the episode. So today I am wearing a wonderful odd combination of my Fana Kjole, which is a Norwegian dress actually that I've knit quite a few years ago out of Rauma Garn. PT2, I think. I don't know exactly. But I will put it down in the bar below me here that I usually put information in, and also in the description box below if you're interested. I think the yarn is discontinued though, but that has something to do with two yarn companies going together or something. I don't know exactly, but they have merged some of the yarn, so I'm not really sure if the yarn still exists. There you go. Anyway, and I have topped it with my Ring of Fire Cowl, which is a Brioche cowl that I have recently knit like a month or two ago. And it's a pattern by Nancy Marchant, and it's from the book Knitting Fresh Brioche that I've purchased a while back when there were still yarn festivals and things going on, when there wasn't a pandemic and such. Anyway, and this might seem like a remarkable warm combination for today, because it's like the beginning of September, which is like we're transitioning into fall here in the Netherlands where I live. But I went swimming yesterday for the first time actually since the whole pandemic thing. And ever since I've had a super sore, stiff neck, so I am trying to keep it nice and warm and cozy, and that's why I am wearing winter wear to keep my neck nice and warm and my shoulders and everything, because oh my, I could really notice that I hadn't been swimming in a while. So there you go. I mean, I've heard a lot of stories that it kind of works the opposite for a lot of people, but the pandemic has been pretty good for my weight, because I managed to control my eating habits by simply never buying cookies to eat with my coffee or my tea. I don't actually drink coffee, I only drink tea, but when people say they are going to drink a cup of coffee, it means that I drink tea instead. But anyway, I never actually have those things in my home. But now that the restrictions are lifting a bit, I've had my second vaccination shot and everything, so I've been seeing a few more people, and that means a lot of cake and stuff going along with the beverages. So I've noticed slight weight gains since we have been allowed to do more. So I decided to also try and go swimming again. Anyway, that's not what you're here for. You're probably here for the knitting content, so or other crafting content. So let's get right into it. So I have actually finished a few things since last podcast. Let's start with the least exciting one, I guess. This is the sock that or the pair of socks that I was knitting for my husband. I was already on the second sock, and I was very close to finishing it, but I didn't know exactly how long I should knit or where exactly I should start the cuff, because I had left one of the socks at my parents'. I couldn't go on and finish the second sock. And I have since seen my parents again. We went for a weekend to a hotel, and my son went to stay over the weekend at my parents, so at his grandparents. And in the process of dropping him off there, we picked up my sock and I have since finished it. And it turned out that I was exactly at the point where I needed to start the cuff. I didn't need to add a single row of knitting. I could have knit one stitch more because I always start my ribbing with a knit stitch and then go into a purl. Or actually, usually for my husband I actually do a 2x2 ribbing, but for whatever reason I hadn't done that with this socks, which I did remember that I didn't do a 2x2 rib. But anyway, so here it is, and the pair of socks is finished now, and yeah. I'm quite happy to have it off the needles, and my husband will be happy to have another pair of socks. So yeah, this is a vanilla sock pattern. I have written my own vanilla sock pattern a few years ago, which is available on Ravelry. Yeah, nothing special, just a plain sock, but I do use a short row heel, and I have a tiny bit of heel flap and gusset going on as well, so that combination makes it possible for people with a slightly higher instep to use this sock pattern. I don't need it for my own socks. I sometimes add in a shallow heel flap and gusset along with the short row heel that I like to knit, but yeah, I don't think everyone needs it. Anyway, it's just a very basic pattern that I've written. I haven't looked at the pattern for years because, you know, it's just my socks. Anyway, so that's the socks done. Let's go into another project. And I have another finished object, which I am very happy to share with you. And those are my Fishy or Nautical socks. I had apparently called them years ago. I did not remember that, but yeah. It seems like my gauge has changed a bit since, because like one sock is significantly longer than the other. Like it seems like there's one more pattern repeat on one sock compared to the other, but there's exactly the same amount of stitches. So I don't know exactly what happened there, but yeah, I guess it's okay. I also purchased a new skein of sock yarn to finish these socks, actually, because I was actually knitting this pattern originally from leftover skeins of sock, because for some reason my brother's girlfriend, she asked me to knit a pair of socks for her, and she wanted very thick yarn, so I decided to hold 2 strands of this yarn. This is a Latch-Hook, I think super wash solids or something, and I held those together and knit her a pair of socks, which was a very quick project. She's actually a quite tall woman, but yeah, she has smaller feet than me, so I'm very tiny and I have average size feet, so she actually has a size smaller than me. But yeah, so I knit a pair of socks for her, holding 2 strands together, and for some reason I thought, yeah, maybe I need more yarn because I'm holding yarns together and it'll be thicker, or I don't know. For some reason I bought 3 skeins of each color at a time, so those are 50-gram balls. I'm not really sure, are they 50-gram balls? I think so. Anyway, so I thought I would need like 300 grams of sock yarn to knit a very thick pair of socks. Well, turns out I didn't. I only needed 1 skein of each color to knit that pair of socks. So I had leftovers, and I decided to knit this, knit and design this pair of socks as well with the same yarn. And yeah, I quite like how it turned out. I mean, it's a nice pair of socks. I finished the ribbing on the first sock and also on the second sock. I decided I wanted to knit the ribbing slightly longer than I had done, would have been able with the amount of blue yarn that I had left over. I have a tiny bit of the grey, but yeah, I wasn't going to do any striping in the cuff because I thought that would not look as nice, so I just went ahead and purchased another skein, which is probably another dye lot, but you know, that's okay, I guess. I probably would have knit like this much cuff if I weren't to buy another skein of yarn. So I'm happy that I did. Meant some more ends to weave in. Also, this cuff is knit with holding elastic together with it, so I'm not sure to what extent you will be able to see that, but yeah, there is some elastic going on there, which actually is really annoying to knit. I don't like knitting with elastic, but I do like the fact that these cuffs will actually stay on my legs, so that's good. I guess. And I'm very happy that these are finished, and I might at some point write up a pattern for this, and I may not. I'm not really sure, but I'm really glad that they are finished and that I have another pair of very nice long socks, like knee-high socks to wear in the coming winter, even though it's not that cold yet, even though I'm dressed like it is super cold today. It's actually supposed to be very warm today, but I don't think it's actually happening, although they have forecasted that the weather would change at about 3 p.m. and it's earlier in the day now, so I'm not sure. We'll see. Anyway, so then there's another finished project since last time, and this is a sewing project. And I guess none of you is surprised that this is done by now. I actually don't really like this shirt. It's not just the color, or maybe the color doesn't help it much, but I don't like the fit of the sleeves. It's like the sleeves are slightly too tight for me, so I am actually planning on adjusting the pattern slightly to be able to accommodate bigger arms than this pattern. So I'm not sure why this is happening. I have been working out, lifting weights and such, so maybe I have more muscles there than before, but I doubt it. So I don't know. I thought that I would quite enjoy this shirt, but I actually don't. So then there's another thing that was really annoying with this particular project, and I'm not sure on which cuff it happened, but I was like this close to finishing the shirt, and then I broke my twin needle. And of most of my machine sewing needles, I have multiple, so I can just replace them right away. But I hadn't of this type of needle, and then the closest sewing supply shop here was on holiday, because that's a small family business type thing that only has very few employees, and they decided to just be a few weeks off for the summer holidays, so they were closed. So no way I could go there. And then the other sewing shop that I am familiar with here, they were in the process of moving that month, so they were also closed, so I had to wait until after my own holidays to pick up another twin needle so that I could finish the project. And I did, and then it turned out I didn't even like the project. So that's a bit of I don't like it as much. It's just because I don't even dislike the feel of the tightness on this shirt, but it's because it's so tight. It moves the entire shirt around, and it makes the neckline not sit right on me. So I don't like the way it looks on me. So yeah. But I might still wear it under a sweater or something when I don't really care what it looks like. Now, out of the exact same jersey fabric, I cut out a top, a sleeveless top, which I also like to wear a lot, and this one I actually do like wearing, and it was nice and easy to sew this. And when I picked up the other twin needle, I actually found out that there are twin needles specifically for jersey fabrics as well. I never knew this before. I have in the past just picked up twin needles, and it never said any specifics about the twin needles, but apparently there's jersey twin needles and like the universal woven fabric twin needles. So this was actually a very nice project to work on, because I now have a set of twin needles that works really well with the jersey fabric, and it was very nice and quick and easy to sew this one. So I really enjoyed doing that, and also enjoy wearing it. So that's nice, and I'm hoping to make plenty more of these tops, because I could use a few more. I am still working on phasing out a lot of the spaghetti strap bought tops that I have worn a lot in the past, but I'm completely annoyed with now because the straps always go everywhere. So that's really something that I enjoy about this pattern. This is patterned by KwikSew, and it has a number, and I thought I was going to look up the number, but if I did, I already forgot. So anyway, so I will put the number in the description box down below, and I've enjoyed this pattern. Then there's more. There's actually more. I have finished another project. I have been on a kick of finishing all the things lately. So in the past, I have not completely finished it, as in I still need to figure out a way to, get all the fabric to the backside. But I've been working on a Stardew Valley cross stitch project before, and I've shown you this one before, and I think it was already finished. I think I was about to finish the summer one, but I had forgotten to purchase one of the pink colors that I needed for this melon thing here. So these are the seasons and the crops that you can grow in a video game that I like to play. Based on Stardew Valley, and they have 4 seasons. Obviously, I went for the autumn version instead of fall because I've learned to speak English, like the British English, because I'm in Europe. I guess that's the reason why they call it like that. But at university, they decided that the language was American English. So I'm pretty confused, but I still think that autumn is the way to. Basically, that I would teach the seasons to my son, but I don't think there's any right or wrong in this case. So I finished a fall one. I had already started that, but I haven't. I don't think I've shown you on the podcast. And I've also made the winter one, which was a little less work because there's only 6 things around there. But it actually used the most colors of all of these patterns. So there were quite a few. Well, there were, I think, 2 or 3 colors that I had to purchase to make exactly 2 stitches. So, it's money-wise, it's not a very good project, but I have wrapped all the embroidery floss around these cardboard things that I've marked nicely with the numbers, and I've stored them in a box so that I can easily use them again if I am going to make any future embroidery patterns. So I don't think it's that bad to have those colors, even though I'm not currently planning on using them. This is going to annoy me that I don't have all the hoops on in the same direction. Anyway, I am also currently in the process of trying to design a kind of hanger that has like 4 little hooks to space them out evenly, that my husband can 3D print for me. But when I was actually doing that project, I just saved it and then closed my computer, and I was planning on finishing it the next day, and then the next day I tried to turn on my computer, poof, dead. So I've had to replace my computer since, which actually happened just before last weekend. So I was really really not in the mood to record an episode. I think I mentioned that I was planning on doing that a week earlier to get back on the schedule of the last weekend of the month, but because my computer crashed and I was in the process of actually building my own computer for the first time, I purchased the components separately and put it together myself, but I was in no mood to record a podcast and edit it because it was quite a lot of work to put it together, and also at some point, like, I never would have gone on this adventure of trying to build my computer if I hadn't known that I could always call my sister, who is way more of an expert on the topic of computers than me. If I couldn't figure out how to do something, and just ask her all the kinds of silly questions that someone who doesn't know what they're doing would ask about building a computer. So at some point I actually decided to call my sister, and it turned out she was in the hospital because she had fallen off her bike and had broken 2 bones in her body. So yeah, no help there at this point. So poor sister. Hope she's doing well. She is on the way to recovery, but it's a slow process with broken bones. Anyway, let's not dwell on there. There are a few more projects that I've been working on as well, and there's one that has been on this podcast before, I'm quite sure. I'm not at all sure when it was, but it's a Latch-Hook project, and I am currently making a pillow, and it's supposed to show a penguin. And at this point it kind of looks a bit sad because it looks like a little beheaded penguin, but don't worry, there will be a head on this penguin at some point. So yeah, it's a slow process, and I'm actually not sure why I put this down, but yeah, I did, and I put it in a corner and never looked at it again. So yeah, at least I was a lot further than my husband, because we were actually making 2 penguin pillows. He also wanted to make one, and he came like half a row in, and I was actually half a pillow in. So yeah, it was a bit sad of all the effort that was just sitting in a box in a corner of the attic and not being used and enjoyed. So I was actually at a point just where this wing was connecting to the body, I think. And I have a picture here of what it is supposed to look like when it's finished. This is a pattern that I've designed myself, so I can just share pictures however much I like it. So for this project I went ahead and just purchased 7 different colors of yarn, and I actually am using 2 types of yarn. I think one is the yarn is called Amora with a number, but I'm not sure what the brand is. Maybe Bordeaux de Patsy, I don't know. And the other is the Lanya wool that I've also been using for my Fishy socks that are apparently also Nautical socks. I don't know. Anyway, and I've held 2 strands together to make the knots, or actually 4 strands of the thinner sock yarn and 2 strands of the thicker yarn, because I wanted to make quite a dense pillow. And yeah, it's you can see that it wants to lie to the top, like it's a quite dense pillow, which I like. So yeah, I have been wrapping the yarn around the pieces of cardboard to cut them all to size, and yeah, I am working on finishing this project, because I just want a few of the long lingering bits out of my life. I just want them to be finished. So that's what I'm working on. I have since also started 2 new knitting projects, because when you go to a hotel on a holiday, you also need some relaxing knitting, although I have mostly been cross-stitching at the hotel and just finishing the other socks. So I started working on this pair of socks. This is BFL nylon sock yarn from Stranded Dye Works that I purchased a few years ago, and it's the Frostbite colorway, I think, and I just love this yarn. I have been thinking about maybe doing a pattern sock, but I actually, if a yarn is this pretty, and I think this is really pretty, I sometimes just don't want to have a pattern take away from the yarn, or have a yarn take away from the pattern. So I just like vanilla socks a lot. Also, I like wearing those, so that's fine. I have been experimenting a bit with more rounded toes than I've been using than I've written in my pattern lately. But this one has actually the more squarish toe, or whatever you want to call it. Like it's the increases are knit at a slightly different rate than when you would make them rounded. So yeah, there is the first sock getting close to being finished. So I'm almost at the point where I can start the cuff. I like to fold my socks double at the heel and then knit to at least a point, like at least the length of the foot too. I also want to have it as a leg length. Like I start either at the beginning of the toe or at the top of the toe is where I start my cuff usually. That's the length that I like to wear a lot. So yeah, and then there's one more project, and yeah, this is not really helping towards finishing all the things, but yeah, I have had this project on my wish list for a long time, ever since I purchased the yarn, I guess, and here it is, and it doesn't look like much yet, but this is going to be a cardigan, and I'm just a few rows in. I'm actually making a new ziggurat, or actually new ziggurat, well, new to me ziggurat, that is. I've knit 2 ziggurat cardigans before, one out of my own handspun yarn, and one out of the lovely yarn from Lily Pond Yarns, and this one is made out of yarn by Chestnut Cabin, and here it is. It's the Queen of Rain colorway, and it's a yarn that is 65% merino, 15% yak, and 20% silk. So very nice, soft, lush yarn. And there's actually 480 meters on a skein, so I'm not sure how many yards that would be, but it's somewhere on the label. No, but I think it's just over 500 yards and 120 grams. So it's probably just a fingering weight, but it's slightly heavier skeins. So that should be enough to make me a cardigan with hopefully full length sleeves, because the one that I made from the Lily Pond Yarns, I only have like sleeves until like about the elbow. Because I just ran out of yarn, so I couldn't make full length sleeves because I didn't have enough yarn, and I wasn't going to add in another type of yarn. And I also think that I had the yarn lying around for that long that wasn't going to be possible to get hands on another skein. I actually need to cake up another skein at this point, because I need to finish the neck band now, like along the neck here, before I can continue on this shoulder. So I'm actually going off pattern a bit, because I don't think I was supposed to knit this piece on the shoulder already. It's quite a complicated structure if you're trying to explain it, but basically you start with the back neckline here, and then you knit a bit for the front left shoulder, a bit for the front right shoulder, and then you're going to work like around until you separate out the sleeves, and it's a very nice process. You get and you end up with lovely cardigans. So I am, however, adding a little bit to it. I can see if I can find a picture of the Dusala cardigan. So I think this will only tell you what kind of things you would need to fit the pattern, so I think this would be okay to share. So this is a picture of the cardigan that I am going to knit. However, I am omitting the fact that this pattern actually uses 3 different colors, because I would rather have a unicolor cardigan. And like maybe some of you guys might remember, but the pink version that I've knit in the past, well, actually I think both versions in the past were kind of pinkish, but one of them had added a lace design from the Japanese Knitting Stitch Bible, and I'm currently adding that to the cardigan as well. I have calculated that I will have enough stitches to knit one on the like on both the front panels of the cardigan, and I will also add the pattern once on the center back, and that's actually the same as what I've done on the previous Dusala cardigan that I've knit, like the one with the lily pond yarn, but this one I am just using another panel that is not as lacy. It looks more like cables, but it's not actually that all that cable. There's a few stitches that actually cross, but it's mostly knit with increases and decreases, I think. But yeah, you can hardly see the pattern yet because I'm like just an inch in, not even an inch, I guess. And here you can see, like on one shoulder I have also started working the pattern, but because like the top of the shoulder is not as wide as it's going to be when it's like I'm going to add like a shaped neckline here, so you can't really see that yet, but there will be the pattern will be increased. So I have just started the pattern here, and once I add stitches I will add more of the pattern as well. Well, I have actually fiddled a bit with the pattern to make it fit on here, because this section of the pattern actually only has decreases, but obviously I could not just simply leave the increases out, because that will make the pattern unbalanced. So I've just added them like right next to the button bands if I needed more, until the point where I think the increases moved into the pattern, like into the stitches that I did have. So anyway, it's a bit of a brain teaser to work on this, but yeah, it's nice to work with. The yarn is super soft. It's a bit spicy though, so I'm not sure if I will continue knitting this on my higher sharps. I might switch to my charwool needles instead, because they have a slightly more rounded point, so maybe it's slightly easier to work this pattern on those needles. Anyway, I think that's everything that I've had to share with you, because I don't think I have any other projects that I want to talk about lingering here, so I think that's it. And yeah, I have really been enjoying working on this, on finishing a lot of projects, because I don't know how this works with you guys. Maybe you are that that person that manages to just buy yarn for one project and then works on that project, or maybe buy for 2 projects, or I don't know. But I tend to buy a lot of yarn for a lot of projects, and then I buy a lot of yarn for intended future projects, and then I don't actually start all of those projects, and I also don't actually finish all of my projects. I think I'm reasonably good at finishing projects. Most of my projects get finished kind of in one go, but some tend to end on the wayside, and if I pick them back up like I did with these socks, I don't actually know why I did that, because I enjoy working on them so much when I pick them up again, and I really want to finish objects. So I don't know. I'm trying to get rid of a bit of the pile of projects that have fallen to the wayside a bit in the past. Anyway, so yeah, it feels good to finish those. So I hope you all had a lovely time. I hope to see you again soon. I am not going to make a prediction about whether or not I'm going to get ahead of schedule and work my way back to the end of the month. Maybe it's going to stay at the beginning of the month. I don't know. But probably in about a month's time there will be another episode, I guess. But even then, I don't know what's going to happen in life. But whatever happens, I would like to thank you all for being here, and I hope you all have a lovely time until we meet again. So, bye!